People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lie.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're no. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no lie, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
Sorry about that, folks. I just realized my mic was on mute. I, yeah, just fast forward through the first, what, 2-3 minutes. Let me bring everybody up here real quick, man. Yo. What up? What up?
Hey, morning. How's everybody doing?
I'm good. I'm glad I wasn't 10 minutes in talking to myself. So, yeah.
All good.
I thought it was me again. I was like, oh no, not this again.
You know I was due for one at some point. I've been doing good before I was muting myself.
Sound like you was going in, or it looked like it.
I had a whole thing, man. I had a whole rhythm and all that. I hate when that happened too.
Yeah.
It's all good though, man. Yeah, like I said, I got a clip. I found an alternate one. It's the same person, it's the same one, but I don't have the copyright issues, so YouTube can come for me this time. I don't know who coined the phrase, but BBL men getting BBLs. Never heard of it before. Didn't even know like that was a a thing. But yeah, my guy, he went and got an operation done on him so he could be taller. And I just want to see what y'all think about this, man. So I'm gonna bring this up on the big screen. I'm gonna let this play real quick, man.
All right.
This we got 2:55 on the clock.
Satisfied with your height, you should definitely look at this guy who spent $100,000 just to become taller.
Seriously, in these heels, I'm about 5'5", and that's how tall Denzel Seeger was about 6 months ago. Now he stands at 6 feet.
Denzel Seegers has spent his whole life feeling insecure for being 5'5". He tried everything just to appear taller, like putting inserts in his shoes, hanging upside down to stretch his spine, and undergoing surgery to straighten his back. But none of them worked.
I tried a lot of different things to make me taller, or at least appear taller. They would only give me about an inch more.
So when he found out about a more permanent procedure that adds length to his legs, he immediately flew across the globe to Turkey and spent $100,000 just to gain 6 more inches. But he had to admit that reaching his goal wasn't an easy task.
Surgically cut the bone, they put a rod in it, and they connect a device outside the leg that connects to the rod inside the leg, and you turn a key on it every day for 90 days.
Undergoing limb lengthening surgery means literally breaking the bones in half and inserting metal rods inside the bone to help it grow and develop. It took months or even a year before anyone could even recover. And it also increased the risk of having an infection, arthritis, or nerve and muscle damage. In other words, it's dangerous.
I have a patient who particularly sticks in my mind who had significant lengthening of his tibias and ended up with rapid onset arthritis. Others who spent months and months and months doing the rehab and eventually lost their jobs, their income stream.
But according to Denzel, he's totally willing to do anything just to get taller. He's eating healthy and has been taking care of his body to reduce the chance of further complications. But he wasn't prepared for all the backlash he was about to get after he did the surgery.
Dude, you're giving yourself like a lifelong limp to be 6 feet? Like, I'm sorry. I get that the height jokes are probably really painful, but you know what's more painful? Oh, I don't know, broken tibia.
Aside from the constant physical pain he has to endure, he also had to deal with all the negative comments online. A lot of people call him crazy. Others said he has body dysmorphia, while some of them even wish that he could never walk again. So now the question is he regretting any of it?
And my height was always the butt of the joke. And then as soon as I found out that there was a way that I could change it, that's when I was like, okay, this is absolutely like what I want to go through with.
Now that Denzel is 6 feet tall, his whole world started to change. Rather than hiding behind his insecurities, he can now be himself without caring what other people think, even if it was the worst pain he's ever experienced in his life.
And what we heard was that it was extremely painful. Is that the case?
Absolutely. The worst pain I've been through.
But for him, it was totally worth it, especially when people started to praise him after seeing his progress. And aside from the confidence his height brings, more women are noticing him now as compared to when he was shorter.
The class of women I met before the surgery were not necessarily on the same level as the class of women I'm meeting now.
However, Denzel said that it's really not about the changes in appearance that matter. It's all about finding one's internal self-love. People will still judge you no matter what you do in life. So it's better to focus on what makes you happy. And in his case, getting taller was just icing on the cake. If you're not satisfied with your height, you should definitely...
All right. We already know where this is going. Society told him he wasn't good enough at his height. The type of people that he wanted, they didn't want him because of his height. They judged him based on his height, amongst another number of issues that has to be acknowledged here. What's your initial thoughts on this clip, Coach?
Man, it's just full of contradictory. Perhaps they might have talked too much. The last thing I heard him say was, which is nuts. It's not about your appearance. It's about feeling better on the inside. After you just restructured and reorganized your entire frame and structure of your body, then he ends it out by saying it's all about how you feel on the inside. Just kind of contradictory. Yeah, it's insane. Not surprising. I guess there's something out there for everybody, but definitely a lot of issues here to unpack.
Yeah, I also found that very ironic how he spent, like, people were calling him body dysmorphic, which I totally agree. But then he said, oh, it matters what's inside. It matters. He said something specific, like, as long as you love yourself on the inside or something like that. I'm like, well, clearly you didn't. because you literally had surgery to change you inside to make you look different outside. So I thought that was super ironic. And then the other thing, like the, oh, well, now the type of woman that he's after is different now, and he's able to get, I was like, okay, so I see what it really was about. It wasn't about loving yourself. It was about making sure the right women loved you. Okay. All right. I see where this is going. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be talking about getting surgery for cosmetic reasons, but for now, I'll just leave it at that. Very ironically contradictory, just like you said.
You know what I want to highlight here? How much people will get in front of the camera and they will tell you all day, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care about your comments. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. You don't know me this. You don't know me that. But you look around you all day and somebody's getting surgery. Somebody's plastering 20 pounds of makeup on their face. Somebody's getting injections in their backside. Somebody is breaking bones in their body. There was a guy, and I just learned about this. I can't remember the name of it. They do this in like some where you can actually restructure your jawline or something like that by constantly punching yourself in the face. It's like you keep hitting yourself in certain spots to kind of like reshape it. I can't remember what the shit called. It's crazy, bro. And it's actually a thing. I don't remember what the name of it was, but it's a thing. And I'm like, man,
Stupid.
It is. And as much as people say society doesn't really affect others, it really does. It really does. So that's my position. Us as a community, when we use these platforms and we comment or we big people up for how they dress or how they talk or how they look or their portfolio overall, we do have some impact on how another person lives their life. Whoever say, and if you don't believe that, you might be a part of the small minority that kind of just, you're like an outcast. You don't really conform to how everybody else move and operate. And that's what I noticed initially. What's going on, brother? Good morning to you. Good morning to you.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I did some. I had just did some reading, and there's actually a thing out here, a trend with men getting surgical enhancements, which is it's kind of crazy. Like you said, I hadn't really heard of a BBL surgery for men, but they say it's rising in popularity. Some good reading material out there, book like The Psychology of Men and Masculinity, and they just talk about concerns among men, on the rise for a demand for cosmetic enhancements. And again, it just goes back to what we talked about before: is looking for that instant, the instant results. And I don't know in this case how that's instant results. I mean, 2 years of rehab and $100K. I mean, that sounds like you could have bought a house in cash, and you could have sat down and did some good self-reflecting and some, got some self-help books. Called me, shit. You spent $100,000 in there. I could have helped you out a little bit. You know what I mean? Instead of getting new legs to make you feel better mentally. I just don't understand how the two correlate, but so be it. So be it.
Yeah, I also was I'm not shocked in the sense that I'm surprised how much it costs. I'm surprised that somebody would be willing to subject themselves to that type of procedure for that cost for no reason other than cosmetic purposes. I've maybe like it could just be me, but I've never really been a fan of surgery. Never had to get surgery myself except like a tooth removal. And I can't say that I'd ever want to voluntarily get a surgery. Like the idea of having like even out of all my friends, I'm the only person that was able to have my kids naturally, and all of them had to have C-sections. And even that aspect would terrify me, like having to undergo that, especially because two of my friends almost died in the process. And I just voluntarily going in and having them break your legs and then put rods through your legs. I'm like, oh my God, people in car accidents are traumatized by that process of having to do that just for their recovery. I'm like, I don't understand why somebody would spend so much money to do that voluntarily just to make themselves taller. I'm like, oh my God, my husband is slightly insecure about how tall he is because he's 5'11" and a half, and he's upset that he didn't make it to 6 feet. But he would never do that. Like, he's already resistant to even freaking going to the dentist. Like, he's never go in to get a procedure to make himself taller. And I also agree in the sense that you could have spent that money on so many other things. You could have paid for the best therapist in the country. You could have purchased God knows how many journals. Like, you could have gotten a life coach. You could have read books to improve yourself and like make yourself feel better in all the other ways. Like, he's basically giving in to that insecurity. He's not fixing the insecurity. And I bet you that even though now he's taller and he fixed that part of himself, he's still insecure about something else. Like, he's going to find another thing to be unhappy about. And now he's in that mentality, in that habit of like, cool, all I have to do is modify it, and then my insecurity goes away. And it's never going to fix you internally because you're not going to be able to do the mental work, the mental rigor that it takes to actually adjust your mindset. Because now he's not going to have anything pushing him to do so. And again, he's just going to see that, oh, easy fix. I'll just do surgery on whatever I don't like about myself. And this is definitely a trend that we're seeing around the world, especially with the highly wealthy, where if they don't like something about themselves, they just quote unquote fix it. And I think that's really damaging because for people that can't afford procedures like that, it's going to make them feel incredibly insecure because they're like, cool, I'm this, that, whatever like insult they have for themselves, and I can't fix it. So I'm like, I'm not rich, I'm not attractive, I'm not whatever things that they're insecure about. And it just like, I don't know, it almost even further widens the wealth gap where there's just going to be a certain lifestyle that's not going to be achievable to people. And the rich make it look so special and important and like, this is what you need to do to be happy. And then we're just going to have a whole generation of people that are completely unhappy with how they look because this type of stuff is being promoted over just loving yourself and being decent human beings.
At Buster Cheeks, that's a huge issue. I just want to acknowledge what you said, man. What is the end goal for most people? Some people do what they do for marriage. Some people do what they do for the admiration of others. Some people do what they do for themselves. But what are we saying? Are we saying more people are spending most of their days working and busting their butt just so that someone can say, oh, you got a nice shiny car. Oh, nice muscles. Oh, you got a nice physique. Is all of this just for validation and attention from other people? It seems like that's the direction that we've been heading in more now than ever before. I don't really like it's your preference. I don't care if that's what you want to do, but in hindsight, for someone to cut into their body and break bones and to do all of that is, to me, is silly, because you getting all it. I give you a prime example. Little Kim. Little Kim was fine the way she was. She absolutely destroyed herself. She don't even look the same at all. You touching on your face, you trying to stay young, you trying to compete with a younger generation. But with age, it comes with this. Just eat healthier, right? Work out. One thing I want to add is him doing all of that. Yeah, it worked out for him in some areas. I can see it, but the women that he did that for, because I don't believe he did that just for himself. I think a lot of this was just because he just wanted people to notice him more. Those same women who say, put it this way, all these women who say their preference is in a guy who is 7 foot tall, a lot of them don't understand that just because they are of a certain height, that does not mean that they're going to be able to take care of them and be taken care of. A person who is 7 foot tall doesn't mean he's going to be a protector or a provider. It doesn't mean he's going to be loyal to you either. And that attitude and that mindset might not even be what he needs in general. So he did all of that for someone who don't even understand themselves. You kind of sticking your foot in your mouth. But I mean, if it worked for him, cool. But I think that what he did, hey, is your money. I don't think it's going to fix, like Sydney said, I don't think it's going to fix the internal stuff that you got going on.
No, I agree. I think it's definitely a quick fix, but that just tells you where we are in society today. The days of, I mean, it's not like it's something new. It's been happening for a long time. I guess it's what's surprising is how much men are doing it now. I suppose, because obviously looking at the trend, and women have been having cosmetic surgery for some time. It definitely goes on the rise after the Kardashians took off. But yeah, it's alarming to see. I mean, I understand how those jokes and stuff might get to you, might play to your mental health. You would hope that man, it's you would hope that he's also working on himself in totality, not necessarily just worrying about his height and quote unquote dysmorphia. I'm sure it's definitely a confidence booster. I mean, if he's wished he was a little bit taller or a baller for all these times, and he was able to utilize his funds towards something that he wanted to, it's no different than somebody going out and buying a car that they always wanted, whether it be a Range Rover or a Honda Accord. It's the same concept. What's surprising is to hear that men are not necessarily putting in the self-work and leading by example, but possibly taking an easier way out. And that's just something I think we should be on the lookout for. And then how does this affect the young men growing up and seeing this type of things online and on television? Because obviously Hollywood and TV has made made health and working out and those type of things an issue over the years. But it's just now to hear somebody going into this extreme, I think and it might not be that extreme to somebody who's going through these issues, because right now you do have a lot of people, men, going to Turkey now to get hair implants. Men that are bald and can't grow hair. So there's technology is advancing, and they have the resources to go out there to experiment with these procedures. Just hope that they're being careful, being safe, and then after getting these procedures, that you hope that that it helps them in a way that it can boost them or catapult them in a way to look out for themselves in other aspects. Maybe that was just one way to to kind of one of their issues that they couldn't get over, and maybe that just kind of puts them in a better place. So just try to look at the positive. I don't have much to say other than that.
And
I do. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask a question because Buster had said it's no more silly than being an Olympian or working in a mine. The difference with that is if you're an Olympian, you're training for something, and I think I get what you're saying with that, but you're training for gold. You're training for a prize. You're training because this is something that you enjoy doing, but you are also kind of seeking validation too, because you do want that gold medal at the end of the day. So I do understand what you're saying. The difference with that is, to me, is with that prize, that gold, that's yours. It's when them scorecards come up and say you are the winner, you earned that. Can't nobody deny you that. If you're doing it for the validation of a woman whose mind is constantly fickle, and one day she like you, the next day she might get tired of you because of something you said out your mouth. Nah. But that's just my opinion. Sid, you was about to say something. I don't want you to lose your thought.
I was gonna say something similar. Oh my gosh. She wants to be picked up. I was also going to address something that was said in the chat as well. One, for the mining thing, just because I was thinking about it when you said it. That usually people don't work in mines because they want to. Usually it's because it's like either a job that was within the family or it's their only option. So I'd say in that sense, that one's more of a necessity for the people that are working there. But with the comparison to like buying a boat or buying something like really expensive, I definitely do see that, because that is a component to that, where if you make that money and that's what you want to do with your money, then go for it. Like that's your money. Nobody should be telling you how you should spend your money. And if it brings you joy to change your appearance, if it brings you joy to have a boat, if it brings you joy to do whatever you want with your money, that's your money. So that's your prerogative. For me, I think the line is that you're spending money in a way that could potentially cause you harm. Because as they said, those procedures can cause repercussions in the future. It can advance arthritis. It can cause like leg pain into the future. You're at risk of infections. Sometimes with bone breaks in the future, you're more susceptible to osteoporosis and breaks in the future. So to me, I guess this is, again, just in my opinion, I think it's a bit foolhardy to spend money on a procedure that could potentially harm yourself in the future. But I will say that there are a lot of examples of people getting surgeries for aesthetic reasons that have actually changed their lives. His does come from a more vain perspective, because he's coming at it like, I want to be more beautiful for women and stuff like that. But I have heard of lots of stories of people that have had like really severe deformities. They have like facial deformities. They have like body skeletal type deformities. And so they end up getting procedures that allow them to live their life better, that allow them to be less, like people would look at them and people would judge them for how they appear. They might have a face that a lot of people would turn their heads at and would find like, I'm not saying that, but some people would say that, like, you're ugly. And they are deeply shamed to the point that they don't want to go out in society because of what happened to them, especially like burn victims or people with facial malformations. And so getting those surgeries can vastly improve their lives. So there's definitely still valid reasons for getting surgeries for cosmetic purposes to better your life. And it definitely can dramatically improve how you feel about yourself and can help you accept yourself better than you did before. But for me, the thing that kind of bothers me in this sense is that it seems like he was doing it purely to get a different demographic of women. And like both of you have been saying, sure, he does look different and now he accepts his body more and he likes himself better for how he looks. But is he doing the work inside that's going to make him also more attractive to women? Is he actually trying to make himself a better person inside as much as he did with doing that with his mindset, with his attitude, his personality, making sure that he's not annoying to be around, to say the least. So yeah, I definitely am not knocking getting cosmetic surgery because there are a lot of circumstances where it can dramatically benefit you and improve your life. But I also caution people using it to fix their internal insecurities, because there's definitely a difference between fixing your insecurities by just modifying yourself all the time and fixing your insecurities by like doing something that helps you feel good about yourself, but still also doing the work to make yourself feel good inside and accept yourself for who you are, for your flaws and whatnot. Because I mean, we're all human. We're all going to have flaws. We're all going to end up with scars and stretch marks and wrinkles and gray hairs and stuff like that. And it's just a fact of life. And it's, for me, like one of the things that I've done is just reframe my mind as like, these are trophies. These are indications that I've lived. Like all of these marks on my body are just stories that add to who I am as a character. And I think that's an important thing to do. Besides just automatically modifying every bit about yourself that you don't like. Mute.
Hit the mic. Yeah, hit the mic.
There's people right now that are like conjoined at the hip. And they probably will never ever get to live the type of normal life that everybody else does. There was one story where there's a conjoined twin that's married. So it's like, you married, I gotta be attached to you for the rest of my life. I would think that would be more of a discussion piece versus, oh, she don't like me because I'm not tall enough. That should be the least of your concern. Oh, I got 3rd-degree burns all over my body. I'll never have the same face that I had just a month ago because they had to graft and take pieces of different parts of me and try to make something look like something. And this is what I got to deal with forever. There is no returning back to what I was in the 4th grade. You more concerned about the comment section and people making jokes about your height and this, that, and the third. But guess what? You can't escape that, whether or not you taller or shorter. We're going to get scrutinized for the rest of our life. Don't matter if you're the richest person in the world. Diddy is telling you right now, he's a prime example. The man had all his money, all his fame, and they roast him every day. Marlon Williams is under the microscope right now because of 50 Cent. 50 Cent is under it. I mean, the list goes on. It really don't matter if you're attractive or not. People will always find a reason to be childish or to be ignorant. Now, if you're scrutinizing or chastising people for bad behaviors and things of that nature, I can get it. But most of us are adults and that still act like children. So throw logic out the air or out the way. You just can't avoid it. You did all of this, which is your prerogative. You work for that money. You do what you please with it. Not really certain if that's going to really change a lot. Like you're probably going to get more opportunities, but I'm not really if you're going to get the marriage out of it. But that's just my thing. You could have my observation. You can't have that much self-esteem to put yourself through that type of pain. I will never be 6'7". You know what? That's fine. I might have love handles, but I can work that out. All I gotta do is go to the gym. Go to the gym, change my diet up. On top of that, I need to have a better spiritual life. My mind can't be cluttered. I can't have a whole bunch of negativity around me. I have to feed myself positive affirmations. I have to talk to myself. I am this. I am that. I am better than this. I'm this. It don't matter if you are 7'2" or 5'5". It's all about your heart. How you treat people, how you treat yourself, how you move throughout this walk. And just because you obtain a certain level of success, that does not mean the people are going to love you more. It doesn't mean they're going to respect you more. It doesn't mean they're going to be your best friends. It doesn't mean that you're going to have this happy life either. You are what you internalize. Whatever you showcase on the outside is going to be directly from what's going on internally.
So what happens if what do you say to the people that have the money and the funds that can have these surgeries and it actually makes them feel good about themselves? Because I mean, there is a flip side to it. Sometimes all you need, we say sometimes people without money and without the means to make things happen, they're the ones that typically sit back and criticize others that do have the means to make things happen. Would you say it's all in every case that it's a bad thing? Because maybe that individual saved up the money and they didn't want to go out and buy a house or didn't want to go out and buy a car or didn't want to go on a lavish trip. And that's what they saved their money up for. And they do believe that that's something that's going to make them feel better. Are you both in agreement that that's not possible?
So don't mind the noise. They working on a house next door to me. If your heart and your mind and all of those things are in alignment with what you're doing, cool. I'd say it works just fine. But you have to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, then all you doing is taking all of your insecurities and all of your underlying issues and sweeping it under the rug to make the house look good until that carpet starts to turn into a lump, and then all that stuff starts to come from underneath it. But if you love yourself, first of all, I guess that's subjective. I mean, can you love yourself and still get enhancements? Can you love yourself?
I would say, yeah, man, because you have to look at it like you mentioned, people that are suffering from some type of disease or dysmorphia, and you have the opportunity to fix some of those things. Like you mentioned, somebody could be overweight, but they could also be suffering from some type of ailment that continues that don't allow their metabolism to speed up. So one of the things that they can do is they can get some type of surgery to reduce some of the body fat to maybe put them in a more healthier category. So it's almost like a cheat code, benefit to help them as well. So I think there can be situations where it can help you. I think, again, it just boils down to the mindset behind it. And then just real quick to address in the chat, it's not that money controls people. It's the people with bad intentions, because there's a lot of people out there with money that aren't doing bad things. It just depends on the individual and the mindset. And Puffy keeps popping up, but you also got to look at the traumas and all the stuff that he went through as a kid. And so that path and that trajectory that he went on, he didn't get help or guidance. He kept getting rejection along his path. But if somebody could have pointed him in the right direction, then you would be saying, he could be doing something different. So it can go both ways, but I think you really have to look at the mindset, and then at the end of the day, just sometimes give people the benefit of the doubt that both things can be true. So just saying, we can highlight the negatives, but there's also some positives out there as well. So not to just always constantly harping on the negatives.
I want to address two things. One, just because it was brought up in the chat, I would classify it as an insecurity, because basically an insecurity is emotions associated with lack of confidence with oneself, particularly fear or uncertainty surrounding somebody's ability or their appearance. And using that definition to kind of address Mel's question, if you're getting the surgery because you know it's going to improve your life, it's going to allow you to live the life that you want to live, I wouldn't classify that really as an insecurity. Maybe it would be an insecurity to a small degree, but if you're doing that surgery for yourself, I don't think that would end up becoming problematic behavior. But if you're doing it because of the perception of other people, that's where I think it would be more problematic, because now you're not doing it to better your own life, you're doing it to appease the opinions of other people. So I think that's kind of where I would draw the line, is what's the actual reason that you're getting that surgery? Are you doing it because you know it'll better your life, it'll help you achieve the things that you want? Or are you doing it because it'll make people look at you different? Because there's definitely a different mindset that goes with those two sides. Also, I just wanted to throw in, there is actual psychological research that shows that money does change people over a certain income. I think it's $750,000. They show that people's pro-social behaviors go down dramatically after that threshold and continue to go down with every caliber of wealth that they get to. And people that are, basically approaching billionaire status have almost no pro-social behavior. Most of their behavior is selfish for personal gain. So there is actually an effect on the brain that wealth has on you. Granted, it could be self-selection, where the people that are less pro-social just happen to also be the ones that mindlessly accumulate wealth because they don't care about people and they just want what they want. But there is some tentative research to suggest that it does have an effect on your brain, and it can affect how you interact with people around you. I just want to throw that one in.
Yeah, that's cool. But the flip side of that too, there's 1,000 researchers for everything. And being in business, you're going to surround yourself with like-minded people and not necessarily be around people that aren't doing it and conducting themselves in the same manner as you are. So you have to be careful talking about the different researchers, because it depends on what they're doing the research for. So, and then insecurities. There's nothing wrong with insecurities. So that's what I think. For some reason, insecurity is being labeled as a bad term. There's not insecurities. Everybody has insecurities, but what you do with the insecurity is completely different. You're identifying the problem. You're identifying what you may feel unsure about, but then that's when the education piece comes about. So it depends on you making a conscious decision on how you're going to navigate moving forward. Again, we keep attaching all these negative innuendos to these labels because of what society is doing. That's how you grow. You identify what your insecurities are, and that's a part of growth. That's the uncomfortable part. And then you work on those processes and how to become better. So that way you're not necessarily insecure in those aspects anymore. But the issue comes into play is because, and that's why I asked the question, because it's easy to say something about things with money or with the abundance of money and how they spend their money versus not actually having the money and understanding the psyche of why they're doing X, Y, and Z. So we just have to be careful, with using generalities, especially in a time like today. It's real easy, low-hanging fruit to grab people off like 50 Cent, Marlon Wayans, you know what I mean? These knuckleheads that's in the news insulting each other left and right instead of identifying the actual problems and traumas that are actually going on. But I agree with everything everybody said.
The thing that be tripping me out, right? Because you're right, both of you. You don't see the answers being provided. All you really are left with are a bunch of adults in the comment sections using slanderous terms. They don't really go anywhere. You're essentially bullies that are forgetting that the person on the other side of the phone or the device, they might not be able to take what you're saying with as constructive criticism. Let's face it, most of it is not constructive criticism. Tell me a positive. Tell me comment section, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are from. And I'm just speaking in general. Tell me a positive about someone's insecurities without slandering them. You don't do that. You don't. I don't see it. It's inward. It's you don't look aesthetically appealing. You shouldn't be saying anything. Shut your fat up. It be stuff like that. That's not showing me how to take my insecurities and do something with it. So I agree with everything that everyone has said here. Honestly, thinking about what you said a little bit more as I'm talking, I'm like, all right, let me think about something that I might have insecurity about. How can I really work on it? How can I turn that into a strength instead of a weakness? Because just because it's a detriment to somebody else, that does not mean that it is to everybody. And actually, I can use my testimony to maybe encourage somebody else with a similar situation. So, like, we really do have to be careful with what we say, how we say it, and how we approach these kind of conversations. Because at the beginning of this, I'm like, bro, what's going on, man? You did all this for a woman. You did all this because the people were talking about you, bro. You was probably a hell of a cool ass dude before you even went through all that. You didn't, like, my nigga, you didn't even have to do that for real. You was all right before. Maybe you didn't know that. Maybe, let me rephrase that. Maybe you didn't know that for yourself. You don't need me to tell you that. You don't need the world to tell you that. You should know that. And if you didn't know that, that's where it lies the problem. So
yeah, great point. Great point right there, man. If you didn't know that, that's definitely, the issue right there. The foundation to where to start is knowing your value and not seeking value from outside people. And that's the problem, is seeking that validation from folks around you and not understanding and identifying your own self-worth.
My bad. I was reading the comments. I yeah, I definitely, I don't have a problem with themselves if that's what they truly want. For me, honestly, I think it's more sad. Like, I don't even hate on people if they're going to change their appearance for making themselves feel better. Like, I keep thinking to this I've seen there's a show called Extraordinary People or Extraordinary Humans or something like that. And he's famous for getting the most plastic surgery of any person. And he has like all sorts of cheek fillers, lip fillers, like ab implants, arm implants. Like he's got the works. Like his goal is to make himself look like a living Ken doll. And watching that video was mind-boggling to me because I still have this phobia of surgery. So I'm like, why would you? That's crazy. Like, you're doing all of that to look like a doll. And but he loves himself. Like, he loves doing that to himself, and he loves making himself have that appearance. And it's like even his house is set up to look like a Barbie house. So like, that's just his thing. So there are going to be cases that to everyone else it looks dysfunctional, but to the person that's living it, it's completely what they want. It's their version of normal. And I think the sad part is, at least for me, is I wonder how much of it is who they want to be, or how much of it is actual insecurities from what people have said about them. Because I know, like, especially in childhood, things that people say to you can resonate for a very long time, and you might not even remember those things. And so I do wonder in a lot of these cases, how much of it is their identity and how much of it is societal insults and like ways that they were raised, things that their parents said to them, that their friends said to them. Because to a degree, I think, you should pursue who you think that you should be, who works for you best, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that's living your life. But I do see it as a little bit sad that people feel the need to do that, because it indicates somewhere somebody that they cared about didn't appreciate them for who they were and didn't appreciate how they looked, or how they were. So I don't think there's anything wrong with doing what you can afford if that's something that makes you happy. But I do hope that people don't see it as a necessity to love themselves. Like, I hope we don't get to the point where people feel like they need to manufacture their looks just to make themselves feel good about themselves. Because I think that's kind of a slippery slope where, sure, you can do a procedure that uplifts you and makes you the person that you want to be. I just hope we don't get to a society that's completely dependent on it to make themselves happy. And we have had cosmetic modifications throughout history, like for generations and generations, since like we're cave people. Like, we've had body modifications, and a lot of them were for spiritual reasons, for like masculinity purposes, feminine religious purposes, all sorts of reasons. But it seems like now, today, most of it is being done because people want to achieve a certain physique. And it doesn't even stop at surgeries. People are also misusing medications to achieve certain appearances. They're misusing dieting to achieve certain appearances. And I think the line is really, are you causing more harm to yourself, or are you actually helping yourself achieve the life that you want to live? So I think people just, again, not, if you want to do that and that helps you, go for it, but make sure that you're not doing it for the purpose of like making up for something that you're insecure about, and that you're not going to put yourself in harm's way to achieve that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with the chat, man. Y'all cooking over there. And I've said that before. God made you the way he wanted you to be. You might have had a deformity. You might have came out of a situation that had nothing to do with the way you were born. It was just your parents were irresponsible, and you had to pay for what they did. Nothing happens without a purpose behind it. Your hair is the way it was supposed to be. Your nails, your eye color, all that stuff was basically birthed to you. That was your genetic code. You alter your genetic code, that's going to be a debate that forever gets circulated through the internet. I'm not telling nobody how to live their life. Make sure you living it the way God intended, the way that it was designed for you to do it. Don't there's people right now who have 20 different identities attached to them. You see, I put it this way, just give you Heather, just a random name. Heather has Nicki Minaj's personality. Heather has Sexy Red's dress code, has the hair and complexion of Condoleezza Rice. Like there's people who copy and paste multiple folks, and then they don't even know who the hell they are. That's the problem. We need to be ourselves. We need to be comfortable in our own skin. Period. And like the trial and error phase, you go out here, and we talked about this yesterday about trying to buy people. You go out here and you try to fit into a crowd that ain't for you. You're going to find out the hard way that you should have just been the outcast, been the Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon fan. You should have just enjoyed boxing, football, let them go to the hookah lounge, because that's not your thing. You should have just stayed who you were, stay true to yourself, eliminate the issue, get rid of the superficial people, and let them align with folks that are more like-minded. You want to be around people that are like-minded. The alterations, if they're not for you, you're going to regret them later on. And if they are for you, then cool. But we do need to learn how to love ourselves for who we are and why we are the way we are. If y'all got anything y'all want to add to the chat, or just anything that y'all want to get off before we close out, I turn it over to you. I do want to say real quick, shout outs to Buster, to Nuke, for all the feedback. This made the discussion broader, and it gave more validity to how serious a lot of these situations occur in our day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so I'll just say, in a time like now, being more open-minded and less judgmental, and encouraging open discussions with people to foster acceptance of diverse body types, talking about a healthier perspective, maybe encouraging people to open up and maybe share a little bit more and talk about the values of their character over their appearance. Talking about things as far as for being a good person. Just to say people are all human and we all know and we all were built a certain way. I totally disagree with that. Just based on the environments and stuff that people are growing up in, some of the traumas that they were growing up in. And unfortunately, people are just seeking the easier ways to find a way to heal. And I just think in this particular point in time, and then like you said, you don't necessarily have to be around all like-minded people, but definitely be open to conversations with new people and not people with the old way of thinking. In 2025, we got to find a way to be able to communicate and get through to each other better and talk about how we can do things today versus 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because obviously that stuff isn't working. You're not getting through to people. And then if people are having these surgeries because they want to alter themselves, I mean, that's a starting point. But just hoping that people can get to the understanding where self-worth is important. And then again, just you can't speak enough about valuing yourselves, especially in this time. Find somebody to talk to, find a support group to reach out to, and develop a good support system to help you along your way.
I want to end with a short poem that I think kind of fits the topic today. So this one's called I've Got You Covered. Running over hills and valleys, spaces full of dreams, deep oceans full of self-esteem. The blanket of protection numbs the harsh sensations, source of artistic articulation, windows to the world of warmth, and can taste the sky, and wraps us and enables us to sense our passion's fire. Shield from the hatred, but keyhole to the soul. The outer edges of ourselves really make us whole. Blackish brown or whitish brown or others in between, the lavish leathers and the wise, the blemished and the new. Beauty is not skin deep, but the beauty is really you.
Great way to close out the show. I was trying to actually comment on the brothers, what's the name when that kind of just sounded off, but I thank you for sharing that. I agree with you, Nuke Gibson. You're pretty much alluding to what Coach said as well. You can learn from everybody. Nobody is off the table with that. It's probably just more uncomfortable when you have to go into situations with folks that you're not accustomed to being around. So that's why generally people would rather just stay where they're used to being, but you can't really get very far with that. So I do understand what both of y'all are saying with that. This was a pretty dope show, man. Dope one. Yeah, he was definitely cooking. And that's why I said the other day, variety, man. You got to have different perspectives on these type of things, man, because you might hear something said or she said or whatever, and it's like, all right, I got you. Definitely get it. So, yeah, man. Shout outs to Coach. Shout out to Sydney. I'm always humbled to have y'all here, man, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for spending time with us over here. Later tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Tap in. The crew gonna be here again. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. We'll definitely tap in. All right. Do me a solid before y'all go. Appreciate y'all, man. Peace.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I my ancestors speak, they tell me the time run on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I surpass peak, until they think we are equal. Please, all I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed, begging the generations remember our story.